Hello and welcome to today's episode of Spill Ur Beanz. Today, our guest, Singh Khalsa, who happens to travel the world spreading peace and love along his journey. Thank you for joining us today or letting us into your home here and interview you.
Well, it's my privilege and welcome, and God bless you.
All right, well, thanks for allowing us to try and get you to spill your beans then today. We can
Great.
try?
Do your best.
Do our best. All right. Well, I'm not going to make this a traditional interview. Let's not go over facts, figures, of everything. I want to know about you. So let's start about today. How did your day start today?
Well, we start at 4 o'clock in the morning, and Sangit comes, community comes, and we start with a morning prayer, Japji Sai Pat, and then we do yoga, and then we do an hour and a half of meditation, 62 minutes meditation. And then we do the Ardas prayer, and we listen to the Hukam Nama from the Golden Temple, and that's how we begin our day.
Now, is this a regular routine all 7 days of the week, or Sunday is different?
It's 7 days a week practice. So here, when I'm visiting here, we do it every day here. When I'm here, if I'm traveling to another city, we don't, but still the community keeps going whether I'm here or not.
Okay. Now, you said here. Here is home. Here is another place on your trips or journey. Because I know you're here in Abbotsford often.
Yes.
So West Coast, where is home for you?
Well, we base here now in Surrey. I'm based here in Surrey at a lovely home here that we share, and then we travel around the province depending on what the schedule is. We're very, very busy. I spend now probably a third of my year out here, and usually come out for 3 weeks at a time. So it depends. Every time I come, we have a different journey. Sometimes, I think in January when I come back, we'll go to Nanaimo and places. So we try to fit in as much as we can. But because our community, our Sangit is growing now, and my speaking engagements in the Gurdwaras and families, and counseling, the healing work that I do in counseling, we're very busy with appointments. So the 3 weeks goes pretty quick. And then, as today, we had our workshop today on a Sacred Journey workshop to help people learn. I teach kriyas and meditations to help people just uncover themselves and feel relaxed and work out any neuroses or things and become calmer, much calmer, and let them open their heart. So I'm a very heart-centered teacher.
Yeah, I have to agree. We ended up walking in today as they were just finishing up with today's workshop, and I felt the energy. And we were here for a couple of minutes in the background, and it was resonating through the room. And so you have to check it out. I mean, we'll mention the websites, our website, his social media. You can figure all that out, but it's something you have to feel. You can't just talk about it, you have to feel it. And I mean, I felt it today in the last 5-10 minutes. And I mean, we were trying to set up our equipment, and at the same time, you could just, we're like, okay, well, are we too loud? So that was beautiful. Okay, so we've got the day, we've got a week, and now you mentioned a 3-week cycle. So what is this 3-week cycle you talk about?
Well, when I visit here, we usually come for a 3-week period of time, and Sangit is informed ahead of time. And we have programs here, so we visit the local temples. I do a lot of work with the children, with children's programs in Abbotsford at the Gurmat Center. Suksaga, we did a program with the kids. We always go to Guru Nanak Gurdwara to do their program with the children. And then speak to the adults and meet and greet the Sangit. And not just from our Sikh community, but we have people from many communities. Our Sangit or community that we sort of have here is very multi-faith. We have spiritual community. We want people from all faiths to just come together and be together and learn. We're definitely Sikh-centered, but we want all people to feel welcome. And that's what we do. We want all people to come and feel welcome and be part of the work that we do and share it with each other. So what I usually say is we take the I, my, me, and we go to the we, the thou, and the thee.
Beautiful. So it's about unity, togetherness, not just ourselves.
Of all people. Guru Nanak came, he said all people, no matter what their color, their race, their creed, their gender, their preference, everyone should be welcomed.
Absolutely.
And we try to live that.
So the 3 weeks, now you've mentioned the kids, youth, the temples, the Guru Nanak. Say if there's somebody outside of your 3-week routine and they wanted you to come and talk at their event, or is that possible?
Definitely, as long as we know in advance, because our schedule gets booked. But I've worked in the multi-faith community, oh my God, over 30 years in multi-faith work. I still do multi-faith work when I can, we're very busy in all aspects of things. But definitely, I'm brought to speak in at fundraisers, events, all over Canada, as long as we can fit it to the schedule.
And I'm going to vouch for that. Knowing somebody, you see them on TV, you think, okay, I can't be in touch with this person. I have to say that's not true. You reach out, you get in contact, they'll come to your event. I'm sure 3 weeks is a very tight schedule for you, but as Guruji said, advance notice, because things book up quickly. You're open to that?
Well, number one, I'm not a Guruji, I'm just a humble soul. I come to Sip Chai and we hold court there, and I make sure, and I made you a commitment that every time, and Mum a commitment, that every time I come, we'll come over and see you, and I do. And so, we're very grassroots. Yes, we travel the world and meet everybody, but you know what? When it comes down, we're just grassroots people working to help in our little way to bring a little bit of love, kindness, and peace to this world, and to share that. And, I'm just very grateful that in this lifetime, my mother is, I've broadcasted on Canadian TV for about 18 years. And my mother said to me one day, she said, Harinam, you have to realize something. Mothers are very wise. She said, not very many people in this lifetime have this opportunity that you have. Never forget it. And that was the words of my mother.
Let's get particular with this story.
Anji.
Which opportunity was she talking about?
To share and spread a teaching, to be loved by so many people, to be allowed to come into people's homes and share, and the graciousness that all have given to me in our communities here. It's an honor, and my way of thinking is I can never betray that honor, because it is so nice. When I started, I've been working in the Punjabi Sikh community for really well over 30 years, and when I started, I was a skinny guy, really like you. Then they gave me roti, chapati, dal. They look at me today.
Yeah, it's the sweets. it's the barfis, and it's the milk cakes.
I was a skinny little guy when I came, Blackbeard.
So how old were you when your mother gave you this advice?
Well, this was probably around the age of 30. About 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So now the timeline has gone from a day to about a week to 3 weeks. Now we've jumped to about 10 years ago. Now we won't go that far right now.
Thank you.
So how about a year ago? So the development process. Where were you about a year ago?
In this home in Surrey.
Yeah, right. That's
Surinder and Janelle's home. It's hard to say. We travel so much. Last year, our trips to UK, India, here, wherever we're called to go, we go. A year ago, this date, probably here, or we do have the community in Ontario. They're getting very worried now that I'm not coming back, but we have the community there. Plus, because I'm based there, I work with a lot of the Gurdwaras. We also have a yoga show that we produce every week there for another community channel there. We're in our 4th year, so I have to go back and shoot some of those episodes. So we stay very busy. I also have corporate work. For example, there's one group, Health and Wellness Corporation. We have 70 of their top managers doing a workshop with me in November. So they booked that in for me. So I do some corporate work as well on things like stress management, depression management, workplace difficulties, and counseling in the workplace, workplace stress, absenteeism, those sort of things. So it's not, because I've taught for so long and so many years, that I really reach out to a lot. And because I am somewhat well known, and the work that we're doing has great results, there's a lot of demand, and we try to keep up as best we can.
Now, you're doing these help talks, the stress release.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel the stress yourself? You go, your corporate meetings, and then you have your television show. Which you can give us a plug of your television show if you want to let our audience know.
Okay,
all right, well, we'll do that later. We'll do it anyways for you.
Our Facebook and YouTube. Our Facebook and YouTube channel.
The lighter side.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, we'll plug that for sure for you after. But do you feel the stress? Do you feel like, okay, when am I going to take a break? Or this is life. This is just the way it should be for you?
No, I don't get stressed. I pace myself, though. I am getting older, that's for sure. But I pace myself in a way, and it's not only I pace myself, they all bug me if they see I'm working too hard. It's a very protective circle, and you're tired. Why don't you sleep? No, I don't want. No, So they, those who are close to us, they're very protective and make sure. But because I don't really want to stop, and I never say no. So our Sevadars, those who are around, usually have to say no for me. But I don't feel stressed because that's my personal practice, the spiritual practice that I maintain daily. Reading pot, doing hymns, the meditation, and definitely yoga. Yoga has been a part of my life for 42 years. I started doing yoga at the age, I think my first class was at 22 years old. Back there they said, "You do yogurt?" I said, "No, yoga." They said, "Yogurt?" I said, "No, it's yoga." They said, "What's yoga?" They thought we were crazy to do yoga in those years. And I was a pioneer in Canada in spreading yoga in Canada. And, when we started, as I say, they thought we were crazy. But today you see on every corner hot yoga, warm yoga, lukewarm yoga, who knows what yoga.
Ice cold.
Everything yoga. But when I started this work in we could call it the alternative communities or the New Age communities, I was a pioneer in Canada for so many things in Canada, foods and health and wellness back before it was talked about. Today everybody talks about it. But I was definitely one of the pioneers here in Canada to spread yoga through Canada.
Okay, I'm going to go for a tough question here. I'm going to sidetrack. Being a pioneer with something new, immigrants moving here as my parents in the 70s and 80s, and racism was felt. Now, I'm not going to ask your background here, but you don't look Punjabi or Indian to me. When you're bringing pioneering this new way of exercise or meditation or yoga, did you receive any racism or any?
Never. And I ran businesses for many years and things. And, I tell the stories of in business, for example, and I worked with some in the entertainment field as a Gursikh, totally like this. And, we would bid on contracts and with some major groups in Canada. And I would win the contract and I would ask, well, why did you choose me? I had lots of, applicants came in, lots of people submitted proposals. And they would say many times, they'd say, well, not only was your proposal professional, not only were your prices competitive, but if we knew that if anybody could handle the stress, it was you. Right? And I got more contracts because they said, if anybody can handle it, you're the guy that can handle it.
Smart guy. It's kind of a plug for himself right there, eh? The stress-free.
But I'm out of that. Now I'm out of that scene. Now I just serve communities. I had my years. My name is Hari Nam, and one CEO of a very large corporation, I won't tell you.
We won't go there, but we will ask.
But he said, I respect what you do, but that stuff's not for me. And I said, look, I'm here. We're doing business. It's not about. I don't say a word. So I left his office, but I purposely left something on his desk. So I walked out of his office. So he yelled, Hari Nam, and I didn't answer. Hari Nam, I didn't answer. He went, Hari Nam, Hari Nam, Hari Nam, and I turned around and said, you see, I knew one day I'd get you to chant. And he became
believer.
And he became my top yoga student. See, so you have to use a little psychology.
Harinam. The name. Define it for me.
Well, Hari means God. Is the essence of God, and is an earth orientation, and Nam is name of God, the vibration of the infinite. And a spiritual name doesn't mean I'm the name of God. But it's a remembrance in your life that you are that part. And so for me, the name Harinam reminds me that I even have to serve greater. That if I'm representing that status, then I better become that status. So it's a reminder of what your status is to yourself. Right?
It's a belief. You are who you think you are.
Yeah, become that. I'm very happy with that. And it's something I took on when I was 20, what year? 25.
Okay.
25.
Well, let's get into this then. We're talking age, youth. How long have you been a Sardar for?
Well, I first was introduced to Sikhism at the presence of the Guru Granth Sahib 40 years ago. So it's been...
Don't do your math. We're not trying to find out how old he is. We already know he's 40, right? 10 years ago.
Well, I was a baby and my mom brought me and said, "See a little Harinam." No, I came to the feet of the Guru at 24, but the transition it's not, like a born again Sikh, now I'm Sikh, everybody, put my turban on. I had turbanitis for so many years, don't talk to me about it. But so it was a process. Began at the age of 24.
24.
Was the first introduction. And then it took a few years of, is this really what I want? I'm changing everything. Is this really the pathway? But it felt so right to me. It felt just what I was, the lifestyle, the meditation, the devotion, the beauty of it, the sound, the music, of being a musician, the sound vibration, it all just went deep into me. But like anything, you're a little scared, and came from a business environment, and now I'm wearing a turban, what they think I'm a weird, did I join a cult, did I, so those questions came up until it really came into me that said, no, this is the way, this is what you want. And I said, yes, this is what I want. I said to myself, and myself said to me too at the same time, this is what you want. Mm-hmm. And that's when I made my commitment, and that was at the age. So the commitment, full commitment to Sikhi, or to walk this path. So I was about 27 years old.
All right. So we've gone quite a bit backwards here, mm-hmm. and we're going to go further back now. So where did you go to school? We're talking university, we'll go high school.
I went to school in the University of Life.
Yeah?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. I left home at the age of 14.
Yeah.
With not a penny in my pocket, yeah. Because I wanted to explore the world. I was like an urban yogi. Right? Mm-hmm. In fact, years and years ago, they did a documentary which was autobiography of an urban yogi, and they followed me around. Because it really was like an urban yogi. And that means, in India, they would send the kids out young and let them wander through the desert and find themselves. I was really a searcher of life. School didn't offer a lot for me because there wasn't enough to keep me interested. And that was the time of the hippies, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking 67, right? 1967.
This sounds very familiar. Wow. Keep going.
So, and I had one issue with my family my whole life, and that was they wouldn't let me grow my hair. I couldn't understand why a person would cut their hair. And my mother would tell the story that when they took me for my first haircut, 10 people had to hold me. So there's always something about hair. So when I started learning more about Sikhism, and I would spend time at the temples, and of course because I'm a musician, I loved the music, some of the Ragi Jettas, the musicians in the Sikh faith would be there. And, men in their 50, 60 years old. I was quite young then. And I got to know them and were comfortable. And, after they would do a program, I would go back with them and spend some time. So I would see them take their turbans off, and I'd say, well, there's a 50-year-old guy, he's got hair down to his knees. That's the faith I'm going to belong to.
So it's because of the hair.
Yeah, all because it was all, I couldn't care about nothing else. It was all the hair.
14-year-old gets up, doesn't want to comb his hair in the morning.
But that was the hippie generation, so we had Yorkville and Toronto. I went down to Yorkville. I did the hippie thing and a musician in the hippie era. And it was such a rich cultural time. And I was a young person. I was young, in that time, 16, 17, as time progressed. And I acted professionally in Toronto, and I was writing plays, and, because my mind is always very creative, very creative. And, there's a lot of temptation back in those years as well, the hippie days and that. But at 17, God talked to me, and I talked to God or whatever it was. I heard a voice. Well, I was sitting one day. And God said to me, because I would always talk to God, even when I was 5 and 6, I was very compassionate. If somebody was hurt, or in those days, you get hit a lot. And, if somebody in my family was being reprimanded, you can hear it being slapped or something. In those years, it was common. I would say, God, protect them. I would go and just say, God, please protect. And that's kind of the consciousness I always held. And I think that's how I survived through a lot of my childhood and a lot through those years. And it's, so I always talk to God, but God represented to me. Today it's just an imaginary friend for adults, but what can we do? But, that's a good one. Remember that one. So,
maybe think of George Carlin.
So, at 17, God said to me, he said, look at man. I said, what? He said, or she, I don't know. I've got bigger things in front of you. Don't mess it up. Don't get into any nonsense. I've got bigger and better things. And I listened. Somehow I listened that day. And from that day onward, my path shifted. So, into a different way. And I did the Back to the Land. I did the whole hippie Back to the Land anti-war movement, chaining ourselves to houses in downtown Toronto when they were bulldozing to build the condominiums in those years. So I saw so much at a young age.
You have any black and white pictures of those?
No.
Sorry,
no,
I had to say black and white.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe in some archives.
Okay. We're going to do some searching.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything around like that,
All
but
right.
and that was the way. And then did the Back to the Land. There was the movement, so I lived up in a log cabin with my dogs way up in the Ottawa Valley. That was an experience in a log cabin. You had to walk in 6 miles even to get there, and that was an interesting time. And but that got me more into natural foods, everything. So before this whole natural foods things happened, I was already tuning into natural foods and herbs and things. And now we're talking like 1971. 1972, we're talking a long time ago. And how that's sort of how things progress, is that I started a health food company in selling honey, because the natural foods businesses were just beginning. It was health, vitamin stores before, and not much. And I turned vegetarian at 18. You couldn't find anything to eat. Somebody came, we were on Yorkville in Toronto, somebody said, hey, if you eat brown rice, you get high. So we all ran down to Chinatown to see if we could buy brown rice. We couldn't find brown rice anywhere. But somebody said, you eat brown rice, you get, because that's all you eat, how are you going to feel? You got nothing else in you.
Who knows?
Right? So, I in Canada, I saw, this is what, with the history that I could share to the Canadian people just about these times, because I was in the middle of this whole thing. I saw so much, and I was around Joni Mitchell and all these. I was a young kid, but at the Riverboat Cafe, I saw this history, and I was part of that history. And then from that history to the history of yoga, the spirituality, everything else that we've gone to. But my life has been a life of just watching and being part of, and that's why I couldn't stay at school. I couldn't, it didn't hold enough for me. I wanted to go out, expand. I was writing poetry books at 14. I read the Bhagavad Gita at 12. I was listening to Ravi Shankar, where I even learned it, got a hold of this stuff. But I was an explorer. But really, I saw the history of this growth in Canada. People don't know, and maybe someday somebody will understand to get it out of me before I leave this body. Because I saw the hippie movement, I saw the changes, I saw the growth, I was in the middle of it. And then into spirituality, and then this whole yogic meditation. I started meditating at 14 years old, and that's 50 years ago. Do the math. So, I've seen the stages, and I don't know how many are in Canada who can tell the stories that I could tell, because I was right in the middle of it, and what a blessing. To this day, to be with such beautiful souls that God and Guru has given me the privilege and the honor to meet. So it's been a tremendous life. People don't know the past history, but it's been a tremendous, tremendous life.
Now, we've gone to 17. This is when you had your chat with God. Mm-hmm. We're going to go as farther back now. Teenage years have hit. You're already the caring, nurturing soul. Did at any point cross your mind that, I want to be a movie star or a musician, like a rock star musician, or was the path kind of already, you kind of knew you were going to be this guy?
Yeah, I just went with the flow. I loved acting, and I wrote some plays and won some awards and very experimental stuff. I acted in Toronto at the old Factory Lab theaters, and this when kind of the experimental theater was coming out.
Any names you want to give us of plays that we could?
Oh, geez.
People are going to be on their
nothing.
Google
I don't
quick.
think any.
Okay.
I acted in one called Esker Mike. This was a lot of playwrights in that alternative, who were just beginning. Ken Glass, who founded Factory Theater Lab and went on to a few other things. These were people during that Studio Lab Theater. These were times Dionysus was one of the big shows, and then Godspell came after that, and Hair was before that, during that time. So more experimental freedom. See, I'm a freedom fighter, and I was a freedom fighter from a young age. And I fight for freedom, and I still fight for freedom today. At 20 years old, I made the commitment that I would work for peace on this planet for the rest of my life. And I said at that time, I don't know what I'm going to look like. I don't know what languages I'm going to speak. I don't know what my name will be. And I've never left that mission. Doesn't matter what form I'm in, but I've never left that mission for peace. Oh. And today, and so since 20 years old to today, That's my mission.
We're going to gladly say we're going to join you on that mission, and that's what Spill Your Beans kind of purpose is about, bringing people together and providing that knowledge of the different cultures and sharing that knowledge, because fear comes from not knowing. And so if you do know about somebody, it's hard to fear them because you know about them. We were about world peace.
World peace.
In our time, your time. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see a day?
No.
No?
Not in my time. But my prayer is, and the work that we do, is that our children and their children, and God willing, their children after them, will inherit a world of peace, abundance, prosperity, equality, tolerance, and compassion and kindness for everyone. And my prayer is, and always has been, and that's why I work so much to this day with our children and the children of our communities, to infuse into them that strength and courage, because they'll be the ones in the years to come. It will happen. It has to happen. This Aquarian age is the shift. We're in the Kali Yuga, the dark part of it now. We're seeing the insanity, the nonsense, the complete upside down. And people's minds are starting to shake like the tail of a rattlesnake. Depression, this, over-medication, all this stuff that's happening.
Non-natural foods.
Right. But the other side is that the consciousness of people like yourself, right, are growing. And you're